Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Billy Indiana. Today I'm going to finally get to recapping the games I played in January. I know February is almost over, but I'm slowly getting caught up here at the end of February with some videos that I've been hoping to make for a while. So if you're curious to see what hit the table in our household in January 2024, stay tuned. So you can see in the month of January, this was not a lot of games. I played 15 gameplays of 14 different games, and that's the least number of games I've played in a month since August 2022, the month that I had my heart attack. Nothing dramatic like that happened in this January, just busy with basketball. So I was grateful to get these games played. And it should be pretty quick going through them. I'm going to go through them in reverse alphabetical order also from least played to most played, although there was only one game that I played more than twice, or sorry, more than once, 2 times in this month, as you can see on the screen here. So we're in reverse order. We'll start with the Veil of Eternity. If you happen to watch my previous videos from November and December, you've seen that I played Veil of Eternity. This is by Eric Hong, and Mandu Games is the publisher. It's an interesting game where you're drafting cards, and sometimes you use the cards to gain money. Sometimes you use the cards to put on your tableau. There are times when you can play a card in your tableau and return it to your hand, and vice versa. There's all these different actions that every card has, a different power that every card has, and you're trying to maximize the way those cards kind of mesh together as each player is trying to earn points. And the first one, I think it's to 60 points, triggers the end game. And I've really enjoyed this game. You can see here's the set out when you're drafting the cards, and you put your little wooden tokens on here to declare which ones you're picking. So, as I mentioned last time, if you saw my other video, I really was surprised by the Veil of Eternity and enjoyed my play both online, and in January it was another online play. In December, I got to play the actual physical game and really enjoyed this one. I think the engine building of the cards is what really draws me in the most. And so that was a fun one for January. Next up, Ticket to Ride Europe. And this is one that I do own. So here's the 15th anniversary box cover here to show you as an example. Although in January 2024, I didn't actually play the physical copy. I just played it on either BGA, Board Game Arena, or I might have played it on Steam. I don't remember. I could look back on my logged plays, I guess, and see. So it was on BGA. And so, well, it looks like yeah, hadn't played this one on the European version since January 2023, so it's been about a year. So it's nice to get Ticket to Ride back to the table. And it's just a fun game, especially when you play it online. You can play it pretty quickly, although we played asynchronous on Board Game Arena. There's a lot of fun to the drafting of the cards and trying to time out when you put the trains down. And we had a good time playing that one online. Although I'd really like to get this 15th anniversary version of it to the table again soon. So hopefully we can do that. Next up, going back one more spot down the list, Sunrise Lane, another one that I own. I think I mentioned in the last video, gifted to me by my mother-in-law. And Sunrise Lane from Reiner Knizia, Horrible Guild is the publisher. Another game that I've just really enjoyed. It's kind of Ticket to Ride similar in the way you gain and play the cards, but you also can stack the houses vertically as well if you have multiple cards of the same color. And as you put the houses down, you're putting them on a tile that has a certain number of pips, and the number of pips is the multiplier by however many houses you're stacking. And you're trying to get longest road. In certain regions of the map, you're trying to get the tallest buildings. In other regions of the map, you're trying to get the most buildings. So there's in-game scoring, there's in or during the game scoring. And it's just a really nice, simple game to learn, but a lot of little puzzly thinking and, again, timing and blocking and things that are important for playing Sunrise Lane. I guess I could show you some pictures here of what it looks like when it's played. So you can see stacking the buildings up. You can see the little pips on the squares as you're playing. And here, so in this red, I think in the red regions, you're trying to get the tallest building, if I remember right. And in the blue regions, you're trying to get the most buildings. And so right now you can see red has the tallest building in this region. And in the blue region right now, red also has the most buildings. So they are in a good spot, at least at that point of the game as pictured here. So pretty nice production as well. Sometimes it's a little annoying how the buildings don't stack really nice and neatly, but overall pretty good production, and I really enjoy that game. So another fun one. Obsession is one that I don't own, but played this one on Board Game Arena. And I have never watched Downton Abbey, but I've heard that this is like Downton Abbey, the board game. I hope I'm saying that right. I've never even watched the show, but And basically, you're inviting different people to your parties. Oops, keep clicking the wrong one. Sorry. To parties and events, and you're trying to bring new people in, hiring people, and also bringing new guests in. And this is a game that I know many people love. It's by Dan Halligan and Kayenta Games, and it's just okay for me. If you look at the ratings here, I rate this quite a bit below other people. 7, good, usually willing to play. If we go up to 8, that's a very good, enjoy playing and would suggest it. I might suggest it to certain people, but I wouldn't classify it as very good for me, although I know a lot of people love it. If we go up to 9, then it's excellent, very much enjoy playing. And then if we go to 10, outstanding, will always enjoy playing. So I just kind of try to go a little bit by those. And it's a 7 in my book. It's good. I'm usually willing to play, but I wouldn't go out of my way to play it. So Obsession, a nice game. I think it's the second or third time I played it, but I've only ever played it on Board Game Arena. Perhaps if I did play it in physical form, the actual physical board game, I might enjoy it more, although I don't dislike it. I just don't love it as much as many people. Also got to try out Notre Dame, and I have the 10th anniversary edition for it. This is a Stefan Feld game published by Aaliyah and Ravensburger. And in this game, you have this interesting board of a modular board of these city tiles, and depending on the number of players, you set this out in a different arrangement. And it's an interesting card playing. You're moving a piece around the board as well, and trying to gather. Oh, that's interesting. Not sure what that picture's about. Trying to gather resources as you go. And we actually played a rule incorrectly, and so it made it a lot harder. We were just having an impossible time keeping the rats out of the city. And so I would like to go back and play this one again to make, and now that we understand the rule better. I think none of us had played it, or maybe one of us had, but it had been a long time. It was my first time to play, I remember. And so we didn't catch the little setup rule in terms of which cards we were using. So we got overrun by rats, but I enjoyed the play, even though it wasn't quite the right rules, and look forward to trying it again now that we understand it a little bit better. All right, Lord of the Rings, Adventures to Mount Doom, The Adventure to Mount Doom. This one, again, played earlier again, I forget if it was November or December, so if you watch those videos, you could see that's a Michael Reinick game published by Cosmos. And this one is really working the Fellowship from Rivendell all the way to Mount Doom along this path. And there are certain spots on the path you want to land on, and other spots on the path you don't want to land on. You have these little character representations of the Fellowship, and you're trying to keep them kind of together as they're moving along the path. And it's got really beautiful art. It looks like Michael Menzel art, although I don't see anywhere on the box that it says it is, so I'm not sure. And in this game, you are playing cards as you go through Rivendell. You're rolling dice and choosing which dice you're going to use, and then the cards you play are ones that you can earn throughout the game. And then the dice depict which cards you would play in the queue. Let's see if I can find you. Here we go. So you're going to have a queue of cards. I guess this doesn't really show the queue of cards exactly along the board. We're showing how you put the dice down and choose which ones. So you're going to roll 3 dice and pick 2, and then pick another one and roll 3 again and pick 2. You always pick one of the black ones and one of the non-black ones. And the colored dice depict or determine who you're moving, and the black dice depict which card you're going to choose. Maybe this one shows the cards. Shows some of the cards. Oh, here they go, right in this spot right down here. You can see they're in these spots, 6, 5, 4, 3. So if you roll a 5, you're going to play this card. If you roll a 6, you're going to flip this one over. And when you first set them up, 2 of them are unknown and 4 of them are known. So interesting game. We enjoyed kind of living out the storyline in the sense of going from Rivendell all the way to Mount Doom and trying to survive. And the first couple times we played it, we didn't survive, but the last time we did. And this is a pretty easy game to learn. I rank it a little bit higher than most people just because I love the Lord of the Rings theme, and my wife and I had a great time playing this one. We like cooperative games, so it's only a 6.8 overall, but we give it a 7.5. So it's somewhere between very good, enjoy playing, and would suggest it, to excellent, very much enjoy playing. It's kind of in between that. I realize, and even in my own liking, I would prefer Legends of Andor or even some other Lord of the Rings games over this one, but we did enjoy this quite a bit, and so looking forward to playing that one again. And it would be a fun one to teach people, even if they haven't played a lot of board games, especially if they like the Lord of the Rings theme. Next up, Hegemony, Lead Your Class to Victory. This one's by Vangelis Bagiartakis and Varnavas Timotheou. Whew, I probably said those terribly wrong. The publisher is Hegemonic project games, or hegemonic project games. Again, not sure how to pronounce that one either. This is a very heavyweight game, 4.19, and it's 8.5 ranking overall throughout the community. Mine is the first impressions because I just played it that one time, but I gave it an 8 because I did feel like it was a very good game and I would enjoy playing it. I could see this one going up though with future plays. So that's a first impression rating. But in this game, it is a very heavy Euro, and you're playing one of 4 factions: the state, the middle class, the working class. I forget what the publics. No, that's a part of the board. I forget what the 4th division is. There's the middle class, but it's a really interesting game. It's asymmetric in terms of which of those factions you're running, and you're trying to figure out where you're going to hire people to put, and how you're going to collect resources throughout the game, how you're going to invest your money, how you're going to build your infrastructure, and how you're going to cooperate and coordinate with those other characters and the factions that they're playing. And so it was a really interesting game. I have no idea who won. I can't remember, but you can see there's private sector and public sector portions of the board. It was designed by several, I think, doctorates in political economics. And so I think it's a really well-designed game, and I would love to play it again. Again, it was really long. I think it took us 3 or 4 hours to play, and it was our first game. I think maybe only one person had ever played it before of the 4 of us. So I really did enjoy it. I really want to play it again, and that is Hegemony. Next up is Hadara. This is one that got back to the table, hadn't played it in a while, but had played it before, both on BGA and in person. And it's got an interesting drafting mechanism as well. And as you draft these cards, you can sell them or you can play them. And when you play them, you get a chance to move up this tracking board here. The tracking board keeps a total of how many of each of the different resources you have. And then you can also buy monuments, and you can buy, I forget if they're called awards, or I forget the terminology because I've only played it a few times and it has been a little bit. And on BGA, I'm not even sure that all of the terminology comes up the same. But you can buy these little words that go here. You can buy, I think, these locations or something. You can buy these monuments as you're going throughout the game. And you're also, to do that, you have to have certain levels of these things. So like to get this one, you have to have level 4 on blue. And to buy this one over here, I can't see the number. Yeah, I can't tell what that number is there, but you have to have these at certain rankings in order to buy those. And you also have to feed your people, which is the green one, which we played this last time on Board Game Arena. I forgot that was part of the game. And that's one of the problems when I play games on Board Game Arena. I don't often go back and reread the rules, and sometimes it's been months since I played before. It's a very colorful game, really interesting game, the way you draft the cards and play the cards, and it's kind of a 2-layered draft. So it's by Benjamin Schwer, by Hans im Gluck as the publisher, Z-Man Games, you can see here on the box. And I believe we did play with this newer box version when we played the physical copy. And I do enjoy Hadara. I rank it a little bit higher than the average person with my few plays, but again, only having had a few plays. Back to the list here. Next up, we have Forest Shuffle. And this is, again, getting back to the table. And I'm ranking that one just about what the average person does after a few plays through. Played it again in January. This time I think was the first time we played it actual physical copy. And so I have played on Board Game Arena a few times, but really enjoyed the physical version of it. And here you have these tree cards that you're playing out in your forest, and then you're tucking animals, and I think even some other, I don't think they're all animals, I think there are also some other flora that you tuck under the bottom edge of some of the cards. And so you can have typically one card tucked above, one below, one to the right, and one to the left. Although there are some cards like rabbits that you can tuck multiples underneath, and I think toads, certain versions of toads you can. And all the cards score differently. So like these moths and butterflies, I think you have to have a variety of different moths and butterflies to score. And for the trees, sometimes you need them to be the same, sometimes you need them to be different. They all score differently. So it reminds me a little bit of Earth in the terms of you've got this tableau and they score in the way you organize them. But it's a little bit simpler in terms of what you have to think about and how many things you have to think about and how many things you're scoring. But beautiful art and a really clever tableau system that I've enjoyed a lot. And after playing, I think I had it ranked as a 7, and then after playing the physical copy and my third play boosted up to a 7.5. And so really did enjoy my play of Forest Shuffle and would like to play that one again. Darwin's Journey, we just played this one time, so this is kind of a first impression. it left me a little wanting actually. I enjoyed it, but and it may have just been first play and I need to go through and see if I can understand it a little bit better the second time. I do tend to like Euro style games, but this one felt, how can I put this? And part of it kind of felt restrictive. Part of it kind of felt like every turn I just had one thing that I knew I needed to do, and I felt a little bit less creative. Like there was just clearly one thing that was the best for that turn. I don't know. I may not be understanding all of the different depths of this game, having only played it once. It is a beautiful production, and I liked the way the different aspects of the game integrated together and built on one another. And I would like to play it again so that hopefully I can get a better handle on some of the things I'm sure I was missing and overlooking. I do know that I think these were called stamps. I do know that I should have put more of those out earlier in the game than I did. I was a little bit late to the party on that, and it gave me a fewer options, and maybe that's why it felt like I didn't have a lot of good choices. But Darwin's Journey, I enjoyed it and would like to play again. First impression, like I said, was a little bit lower than I expected. I really was excited for this one, and yeah, I'd like to play it again. It might go up from there. I wouldn't think it would go down from there, but it might actually go up. So we'll see if I get a chance to play it again. Another simple little card game, K9 Kayak Chaos, the Celebrity Edition. This was a gift from some friends of ours to my wife because they know how much she loves dogs. And this is just a silly game by Ginger Fox Games. And the dogs are hilarious. We have Clint Eastwolf, Fleance Knowles, Notorious Pug, Dave Growl, Jennifer Pawrence. And so you've got these kind of celebrity look-alike dogs that you're trying to play out in certain patterns, and it's just a silly game that we had a good time playing. And I rated it a little bit higher than the average person just because we had so much fun. It isn't by any means a great game, but 6, if we look at what that means here, 6 is okay, we'll play if I'm in the mood, and that is true of that game. And then we go to Bark Avenue. So this one we had played before and got a chance to play again. And all the 3 times we played with the physical edition, which we picked up through Kickstarter. We did back this one. It's Mackenzie and Jonathan from Paradise Games created this game. And we really enjoy the thematic integration here. As you're going around the board, you're choosing which dogs you want to walk. And as you walk them, you have to pick them up in certain places and drop them off. And some dogs want long walks. Some dogs want short walks. You're trying to get them to go potty when you're taking them on the walk. They also have favorite things. Some of them just like to find a hydrant to hike their leg on. Some like to chase a Frisbee. Some like to chase a ball. So you're trying to do all their favorite things as well as you're hiking along with the dogs and walking them. But certain dogs don't want to walk with other dogs, and certain dogs are fine walking in groups. And so it's just a really interesting, I think, very thematic game in the sense of all the things you might have to think about and the opportunity to stop quickly and grab a cup of coffee as you're going to pick up a dog, and then that cup of coffee can help you. This is maybe a little less thematic thing as you're moving along, and then you can go to the pet store and pick up dog bones, and then you can distract the dog with those treats. So really fun things that we've enjoyed from Bark Avenue. It is, I would have to say one of the negatives for me at least is it felt like it took a little bit longer than I wanted it to, at least at 4 players. I think it was just about right when we played 2 players, but with 4 it seemed to go a little bit long. But I enjoyed it, and it's one of those kind of between a 7 and an 8 where it's very good, and it's kind of between good, usually willing to play, and very good, enjoy playing and would suggest it. I think I would definitely suggest it for certain people, especially if they are dog lovers. So that's where I'm at with Bark Avenue. Really nice game, beautiful art, very thematic in my opinion. Art Society played for the first time. This is by Mitch Wallace, Mighty Board Games. And this is an interesting one where you are bidding to select art, and then you're trying to put them on your wall, and you want to put them in a certain pattern. There's a part of your wall that's kind of like at eye level where you definitely want your best art and your best scoring art. But as you're bidding, you're also using these little tiles that you can see here, these paddles. Here's a 15 showing. And there's a market of pictures that are out for bidding, and you decide how much you want to bid depending on how well they'll fit into your collection over here. And you want, if I remember correctly, there's one thing you're trying to match and one thing you're not trying to match. I think you're trying to match the frame styles and you're trying not to match the little color icons that are at the bottom here. Having just played it once, I might have that flip-flop, but I'm pretty sure that's right, that you want all these frames together, but here we got blue, yellow, and green. So we want those colors to be different. And as you're putting out the pictures, you're trying to build up your scoring. And every round there's a picture that doesn't get selected, and that's going to boost the score of that particular kind of painting at the end of the game. And so at the end of the game, you're going to score for the paintings you have up. You're also going to score based on how the different paintings were priced and prized along the way. So a really interesting bidding, tile placement, a little bit of a polyomino-ish. I guess they're all rectangles of some shape, so maybe not really polyomino per se. But the tile laying part I enjoyed. The bidding part was really surprisingly fun for me. And I rated it maybe slightly lower than the average, but I just usually, until I get up in the nines, I keep it at 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5. If I get to 8.5 or higher, then sometimes I'll add some digits because I'm trying to keep those sort of ranked in my top choices, and so I could easily look and see how I'm ranking them and shuffle them a little bit that way as I play some of those more and more. But Art Society was a lot of fun, and would like to play that one again. The only game that I played more than once in January was Q-Birds. And Q-Birds is by Stefan Alexander, Catch-Up Games. And we had played this, I think, in December and played it again in January. Maybe we played, it looks like I've just had 2 plays. And so both of them must have been in January. Yeah, one on January 1st and then one January 14th. But Q-Birds is an interesting game. It's got some interesting mechanisms with the cards. You're trying to gather cards according to these numbers. So for this toucan, you want a set of 4 or a set of 6. And if you have a set of 4, it's worth more points. If you have a set of 6, it's worth fewer points. And so depending on how you put those cards together and how you draft them from here, you might be taking the cards you want, but also setting someone up for their turn. So it's a really interesting, again, with timing and card selection. The art is kind of interesting. And most of the art, you can tell pretty easily what the different designs are. Some of them, it gets a little bit harder to tell. A pretty simple game, but quite a bit to think about in terms of when and how you take the cards and which cards you want to take to try to complete your sets. And every card you play down, you have to play all of that type. So if I play a duck, I have to play all the ducks in my hand. So some really interesting rules that kind of didn't remind me of any other game we've played. And I rank it right about what the average, I have it as 7, meaning, you know, it's a game that's good and you're usually willing to play. All right, so that is Q-Birds. And those are the 15 games that I played. And now at the end, I like to talk about my favorite game that got back to the table and my favorite new game. So the one that got back to the table that was my favorite was Lord of the Rings: Adventure to Mount Doom. Just my wife and I have a lot of fun with that one. We love cooperative games. And Sunrise Lane is close because I really enjoyed playing that one again. Forest Shuffle was close, enjoyed getting that back to the table again. I would say those were probably the 3 in the running, but Lord of the Rings, that theme and just the cooperative nature of the game, my wife and I really enjoy playing cooperative games together. So that would be my number 1 back to the table choice. In terms of my number 1 new to me game, even though I was a little disappointed with Darwin's Journey, it's right there. I did enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I hoped. So maybe my ranking's a little lower because it wasn't what I expected. I'm not sure. Maybe that little bit of disappointment's weighing it down. But I picked Hegemony. It was really interesting. It was very thinky, very complicated. In fact, if I were going to play it right now, I'd have to kind of be retaught. There were enough things that I would need to go over the rules again. It's a very deep game, very heavyweight in terms of the things you're trying to think through and piece together and coordinate. So, but that would be my favorite new to me game of the month of January 2024. So hopefully you enjoyed hearing a little bit about these games that I played. If you've played any of these, let me know what you think. Which were your favorite? Which of these games do you enjoy? Are there any of these that are your favorites, or are there any that you actually didn't enjoy? What was your favorite gameplay back in January of this year? Or what was a game that you newly got to the table? Leave those comments down below. I'd love to hear about your gaming experience in January 2024. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up down below. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, that would be terrific as well. As always, thanks for watching. This is Billy, Indiana, signing off.